On October 15th, 2018, at about 45 minutes past midnight, 13-year-old Jayme Kloss and her mother, Denise Kloss, had locked themselves in a bathroom in silent terror of what was about to happen. Her father, 56-year-old James Kloss, had been shot dead through the front door by 21-year-old Jake Thomas Patterson, who was inside the house searching for them. Denise had placed a 911 call with her cell phone, but the dispatcher could only hear the sound of a gunshot and the screams of help before the call became disconnected. When the dispatcher tried to call back, it went straight to voicemail, so the dispatcher quickly informed the police. But before the police arrived at the scene, James and Denise Kloss had already succumbed to their injuries in their home in Barron, Wisconsin, and their daughter Jayme had been kidnapped. So who was this kidnapping murderer? What motive could he possibly have for breaking into the Kloss family house, killing both parents, and abducting their 13-year-old daughter? The answers to these questions and more will be discussed here. But before we do, please kindly subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more in-depth true crime sagas. After nearly 3 months of being held hostage, Jayme Kloss finally managed to escape her kidnapper. Jake Patterson had believed she was too scared of him to attempt an escape. For 88 days, Patterson held Jayme captive. He never allowed her out of the cabin, except for brief walks on the lawn after checking for any bystander who might get suspicious. Jayme always complied with her captor, even sleeping on the same bed. Patterson always returned to Jayme exactly where he'd left her, so he never had any special locks installed in the house. Finally, on January 10th, 2019, Patterson told Jayme that he would leave the cabin for a couple of hours. Following his usual routine, Patterson had Jayme in a box under his bed along with the rest of his belongings and left the cabin. With her captor gone, Jayme finally summoned the courage to get out of the box and leave the cabin. She escaped from the cabin by wearing a pair of her captor's sneakers, leggings, and a light shirt. She met Jean Nutter, a local woman, on a walk with her dog. Nutter immediately recognized Jayme as the missing girl from the news whose parents had been killed. Nutter quickly took Jayme to her neighbor's house and informed the police. As the police arrived, Jayme narrated her ordeal in the kidnapper's den. She told the police that she had been kidnapped by Jake Patterson, the same person who had killed her parents. Jayme further revealed that the kidnapper had whisked her away from the vicinity and into a hospital, where she had been held hostage for 88 days in a private room. Jayme revealed the identity of her kidnapper and a few of his belongings. The description she gave helped the police spot Patterson, who was just driving past the house of Miss Jean Nutter's a few minutes later. As soon as Patterson was pulled over by the police, he got out of his car and said, "I did it." 21-year-old Jake Thomas Patterson was known as the shy, bookish, and quiet type who had no friends, avoided crowds, and preferred playing computer games to any form of social interaction. His parents had divorced when he was 12, and when he graduated from high school, he enlisted into the U.S. Marines only to be discharged a month later before bouncing from one job to another. Patterson first spotted Jayme Kloss while he was driving home from work when she exited a school bus just outside her family's home. Patterson told the police that as soon as he saw Kloss, he knew she was the girl he wanted and began making plans to abduct her. His first attempt was on October 5th, 2018, when he drove to the Kloss' residence to take Jayme, but couldn't carry on with his plans because there was too much activity and he didn't want any witnesses present. He tried again 2 days later, but was deterred for the same reasons, so he tried a third time 8 days later. This time, he brought a shotgun to ensure there were no witnesses left behind. He was dressed in a black coat and a ski mask. Patterson parked his car in the driveway, walked to the front door with the shotgun, and called out for the door to be widely opened. Mr. Kloss wondered why someone would be at his front door demanding to be let in at 12:50 in the morning. Mr. Kloss questioned why they had such an early visitor, before tiptoeing to the window side and asking to see the visitor's badge through the window pane. Patterson then flashed a flashlight into Mr. Klaus's face and yelled in a harsh voice to open the fucking door before shooting and killing Mr. Klaus. Patterson then forced his way in and searched from room to room, whereas Dennis Klaus and her daughter Jayme had gone hiding in the bathroom with the door locked. Patterson gallantly walked to the bathroom, shot down the door, and found 46-year-old Denise Klaus consoling her daughter, who was frightened down to the soles of her shoes. Patterson dragged Jayme up to her feet, despite her legs wobbling with fear, and gagged her before shooting and killing her mother, Denise Klaus. He quickly dragged Jayme into his car and drove out of the street. Seeing lots of police cars speeding towards the house with their emergency lights on and sirens blaring, Patterson parked by the road and waited for the deputies to drive past before he continued his journey, which lasted for an hour to get to the cabin. On their arrival at the secluded house, Patterson forced Jayme to wear a different pair of pajamas before pressing her into a box under his bed and then locked the door. The neighbors at the Klaus's home reported that they heard gunshots but thought they were hunters, so they didn't give it much thought since it was prevalent to hear multiple gunshots in the area at any given time. Patterson then confessed to the police, telling them that he killed the girl's parents and held Jayme hostage in the cabin for 3 months. He was charged with armed burglary, kidnapping, and 2 counts of homicide of the first degree. On January 14th, 2019, having had no prior criminal records in Wisconsin, his bail was set at $5 million. On March 27th, Patterson entered a guilty plea to 2 counts of murder and a kidnapping charge, with the judge ruling out the armed burglary charge. The police did not press any charges for the 3 months Jayme spent at the kidnapper's den. They did not want to bother her with more questions over what had already been a long and horrifying ordeal. Besides, the police already had enough evidence to nail Patterson into a life sentence without parole. While in jail, Patterson wrote a letter to respond to all the questions thrown at him by the press. He stated that he was sorry for the gruesome murders he committed and acted on impulse. This starkly contrasted with what the police reported, which showed that Patterson had taken time to plan his attack on the Klaus family. Patterson also stated that he entered a guilty plea because he didn't want Jayme to go through a lengthy trial. On May 27th, Patterson received 2 consecutive life sentences, plus an additional 40 years for both murders and the kidnapping. When reporters asked him about Jayme's time as his captive, he responded with a phone call from jail saying, "We were just like watching TV, playing board games, talking about stuff. We cooked a lot and everything we ate was homemade, you know?" On June 20th, 2019, Patterson was officially registered as a sex offender before being transferred to a New Mexico prison the following month. Jayme Lynn Klaus thankfully recovered and was released to her aunt, Jennifer Nayberg Smith, who became her legal guardian. Hormel, the parent company of the meat store where Jayme's parents worked, later awarded her $25,000 for rescuing herself from her abductor. 2 years after the horrible experience, Smith reported that her niece is living everyday life. She attends school, enjoys dancing, and participates in as many extracurricular activities as possible. Jayme takes life one day at a time, surrounded by all her friends and loved ones. What a tragedy for Jayme Klaus, a young teen who offended no one, only to step out of her school bus in front of her family's home, to be seen and hunted by a maniac driving home from work. Do you think Patterson would have spared Jayme if she hadn't rescued herself from the kidnapper's den? Let us know in the comment section below. Please be sure to also check out our other binge-worthy true crime stories coming out right now on the left and right sides of your screen. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.